The night I passed my nursing board exam, I sat alone in my car in the hospital parking lot and cried. Not from relief, not from joy, but because I had no one to call. My husband was already asleep, and I knew if I woke him, he'd say something like, "That's great, babe," in the same flat tone he used when I told him dinner was ready. So I sat there in the dark, diploma results glowing on my phone screen, and I told myself, it doesn't matter. Keep going. This is all for them. That was 3 years ago. I should have listened more carefully to what that moment was telling me. My name is Rachel, and I'm 32 years old. I work as a registered nurse at a mid-sized hospital in Columbus, Ohio. My husband, Marcus, is 35 and manages a logistics company his father helped him start. We've been married for 7 years. We have 2 kids, a son named Tyler who just turned 9, and a daughter, Lily, who is 6. On paper, we look like a perfectly functional family. Nice house in a good school district. 2 cars. A golden retriever named Biscuit that the kids adore. From the outside, everything looked fine, but I had been invisible inside that house for a long time before I finally admitted it to myself. 3 years ago, I enrolled in a nurse practitioner program while working full-time. It was something I had wanted since before I even had children. The ability to diagnose, prescribe, to be the person patients came to first instead of last. It meant more education, more impact, and yes, eventually more income. When I brought the idea to Marcus, he nodded slowly, the way he did when he was calculating something in his head. "As long as you can still manage things at home," he said. That was his version of support. So I managed things at home. I got up at 5 every morning to make lunches before the kids woke up. I attended every soccer practice, every parent-teacher conference, every school play I possibly could. I still remember lunch breaks and the husbandful in parking lots in the waiting rooms of Tyler's orthodontist appointments. I pulled night shifts on weekends to bank extra hours so I could adjust my schedule around exams. I did not stop cooking dinner. I did not stop doing laundry. I did not stop being the person who remembered when the dog needed his shots or when Lily's ballet recital conflicted with Tyler's swim meet. Marcus helped when I asked. That distinction matters more than I can explain. He was not a bad man. He loved the kids in his own way. But the invisible labor of the household, the planning, the remembering, the anticipating that was entirely mine on top of school and a full-time nursing career. There were nights I fell asleep at the kitchen table with a textbook open in front of me. There were mornings I drove to the hospital running on 3 hours of sleep and a cup of coffee that had gone cold. My mother called me stubborn. My younger sister, Dana, called me driven. Marcus didn't really call it anything, and through all of it, what kept me going was the image in my mind of the day I would graduate. A real graduation. Cap, gown, the whole thing. The university held a formal ceremony for NP completions twice a year, and mine was scheduled for the second Saturday of March. I had put it on the family calendar in October. I had reminded Marcus at Thanksgiving. I had texted Dana the date in January with 3 exclamation points. I even called my mother to make sure she and my father had the date blocked. Everyone said yes, of course we'll be there. We're so proud of you. I believed them. The Saturday of my graduation arrived cold and bright. One of those early March mornings in Ohio, where the sky is sharp blue and the air still bites. I had laid my dress out the night before, a deep burgundy wrap dress I'd bought specifically for that day. I curled my hair. I put on real earrings for the first time in what felt like months. When I came downstairs, Tyler looked up from his cereal and said, "Mom, you look pretty." I almost cried right there at the kitchen table. Marcus was on his phone. He glanced up, said, "You look nice," and went back to whatever he was reading. The ceremony was at 11. I needed to be there by 9:30 for photos and staging with my cohort. Marcus had known this. I reminded him Thursday. I reminded him Friday night. That morning, I asked him one more time, "You're going to bring the kids at 10:30 and be in your seats by 11, right?" "Yeah," he said, still looking at his phone. "We'll be there." I kissed Tyler and Lily goodbye, told them I'd see them soon, and drove to the university alone, the way I had driven to every exam, every clinical rotation, every early morning study session for the past 3 years. I told myself it was fine. I'd see them in an hour. The auditorium was beautiful. My cohort was 26 people, and we were giddy and nervous in equal measure, straightening each other's hoods and taking photographs against the stone archways of the building. My phone buzzed a few times, my best friend from work, Camille, sending me a string of heart emojis. She was already in the audience saving a seat. She had shown up. She had driven 40 minutes from the east side of Columbus on a Saturday morning without being asked twice. At 10:55, I checked my phone. No text from Marcus. I sent a quick message, almost starting, "Where are you?" No response. The procession began. We filed in to the sound of the university orchestra playing something triumphant and swelling that I can still hear if I close my eyes. I scanned the audience from the back of the line, looking for Marcus's gray jacket, for Tyler's red hair, for Lily's braids. Camille waved at me from the left section, grinning. I smiled back. I kept looking. I found my seat. The dean began to speak. I kept my hands folded in my lap and my eyes on the stage and tried not to think about the 4 empty seats in the row where my family was supposed to be sitting. My phone buzzed during the welcome address. I tilted it discreetly under my gown. It was a text from my mother. "Honey, we're so sorry. Dana's brunch ran long and we're still at the restaurant. We'll catch the end if we can. Dana's brunch." My sister had planned a birthday brunch for herself on the same day as my graduation, and my parents had chosen to stay. I put my phone face down on my knee. It buzzed again 2 minutes later. This time it was Marcus. "Hey." Something came up. "Call me when you're done." Something came up. I stared at those words until they stopped making sense. Something came up. No explanation. No apology. No "I'm so sorry, Rachel." Just, something came up. "Call me when you're done," as if I had stepped out to run an errand. I sat through the entire ceremony. I heard my name called. I walked across that stage. I shook the dean's hand. I accepted my diploma. I smiled for the photographer. I did all of it alone, with Camille's applause the only sound I could pick out from the crowd that meant anything to me. And when I walked back to my seat, I looked at those empty chairs one more time. And something in me, something that had been bending for 3 years, finally, quietly broke. After the recessional, I found Camille outside on the steps. She hugged me for a long time without saying anything, which is one of the reasons she is my best friend. Then I called Marcus. He answered on the second ring, his voice perfectly calm. "Hey, congrats. How was it? Where are you?" I asked. My voice was steady in a way that surprised me. "We're at my brother Kevin's place," he said. "He had a little get-together for his new house. The kids wanted to come see it, and I figured the ceremony would be pretty boring for them anyway, so—" "You took our children to your brother's housewarming party," I said slowly, "instead of my graduation." A pause. "I mean, we've seen the ceremony stuff before, from when you finished your RN. I didn't think it was a big deal. Kevin just moved in and—" "Marcus." I stopped walking. I was standing on the university steps in my burgundy dress, holding my diploma in a cardboard tube, and I was completely, utterly still. I have been in school for 3 years. I have worked nights and weekends, and I have not slept properly since Tyler was in 2nd grade. I put this date on the calendar in October. I reminded you 4 times. You told me this morning you would be there. Another pause. Longer this time. "I'm sorry," he said. "We can celebrate tonight if you want. I can pick up a cake." I hung up. I sat on the steps with Camille for a long time. She didn't try to make it better or tell me Marcus probably meant well. She just sat with me while I worked through the first waves of something I didn't have a name for yet. Grief maybe, or clarity. Probably both. On the drive home, my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. Then my father. Then Dana, who had the audacity to text. "Sorry we missed it. Happy for you, though. Can we do dinner next week?" 3 years of early mornings. 3 years of cold coffee and parking lot study sessions and falling asleep over textbooks. 3 years of asking for very little and receiving even less. And the best my family could collectively offer on the day that marked the end of all of it was a voicemail and a suggestion to do dinner next week. I did not go home right away. I drove to a park near the university and sat by the water for an hour. I watched people walk their dogs and push strollers and eat lunch on benches, and I thought about every time over the past 3 years I had asked Marcus to step up and been met with the bare minimum. Every time I had come home exhausted and found the dishes still in the sink. Every time I had asked him to take the kids to practice because I had an exam and he had done it without a single word of acknowledgement that this was teamwork, not a favor. Every time I had tried to talk about how stretched thin I was, and he had said, "You're the one who chose to go back to school." I thought about my parents, who had never once asked me how the program was going, who had celebrated when Dana got a promotion at her marketing firm with a dinner at a nice restaurant, but who had responded to my NP enrollment with a polite, "That sounds like a lot of work." I thought about the way they had always quietly treated Dana's life as the more interesting one. Her city apartment, her social calendar, her birthday brunches that apparently took priority over milestone moments in my life. I thought about what I was going to do next. When I got home, Marcus was in the kitchen with the kids. Tyler ran to me immediately and hugged me around the middle. "Dad said you got your diploma," he said. "Can we see it?" I showed it to him. He read my name out loud, slowly, sounding it out the way he does with words that feel important. "Rachel Ann Mercer, Nurse Practitioner," he said, and looked up at me. "That's a big deal, right, Mom?" "Yeah, buddy," I said. "It is." Marcus was quiet behind him. When Tyler wandered off and Lily was distracted with the dog, Marcus said, "I really am sorry, Rachel. I didn't realize how important it was to you." I turned to look at him. "That's not actually an apology," I said. "That's just a sentence that sounds like one." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means you're sorry you didn't realize. You're not sorry you didn't go. Those are different things." He opened his mouth, closed it again. I walked past him to change out of my dress. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table after the kids were in bed and I wrote 2 lists. The first was every major event in the past 3 years that Marcus had attended versus skipped. The second was a list of what I needed going forward, not requests, not suggestions, but actual non-negotiable expectations. I needed him to show up. I needed him to model for our children what it looked like to support someone you love. I needed him to understand that my career was not a hobby or a personal project. It was a contribution to this family, and it deserved the same respect as his. I told him that night, all of it clearly and without yelling, which was harder than it sounds after the day I'd had. He listened in a way I hadn't seen him listen in years, without his phone, without the half-distracted nodding he usually offered when I was talking about something that made him uncomfortable. He sat across from me at that same kitchen table and he actually listened, and when I was finished, he said, "I think I've been taking you for granted for a long time, and I'm sorry. Not for not realizing. I'm sorry for doing it." I didn't forgive everything in that one conversation. Grief doesn't work that way, and neither does trust. But something shifted. It was small, and it was real. My parents called the next day. My mother started with excuses. Dana's brunch had been planned for weeks. They didn't want to upset her. Surely I understood. I let her finish. Then I told her, calmly and clearly, that I had put my graduation date on her calendar 5 months in advance, that I have reminded her 3 times, and that her choice to prioritize Dana's brunch told me something I needed to sit with. I told her I loved her. I told her I was not going to pretend the day hadn't hurt. And I told her that going forward, I expected her to treat my milestones with the same attention she gave my sisters. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You're right. I haven't been fair to you." My mother is not a woman who says those words easily. I know how much it cost her. Dana called later that week. Her call was harder. There was defensiveness and then hurt feelings on her part, and then a long silence in which I could almost hear her recalibrating. "I didn't know you felt this way," she said finally. "I didn't know any of us made you feel that way." I told her I believed her because I do. That's the thing about being the reliable one, the one who always manages, the one who never breaks down in front of anyone. People stop checking on you. They assume you're fine. They stop asking. I told her I wasn't always fine. 2 weeks after my graduation, Marcus came home with Tyler and Lily from a trip he didn't explain in advance. He walked in holding a bakery box and wearing an expression I hadn't seen on his face in years, nervous and deliberate, like he was trying hard to get something right. Camille was already there, sitting at my kitchen table with a glass of wine. He had called her. He had planned this. The box had a cake inside, white buttercream with navy blue lettering, Rachel Ann Mercer, NP. We're proud of you. Tyler had made a card at school. It was covered in crayon drawings of what I think were stethoscopes, and inside it said, in his 9-year-old handwriting, "Dear Mom, you worked really hard and you didn't quit. I want to be like that too." I held that card for a long time. Marcus had also framed my diploma. He'd picked out a simple dark frame that matched the shelves in my home office, and he hung it on the wall before I got home so that when I walked into that room it was already there, my name, my credential, displayed like the accomplishment it was. He stood beside me while I looked at it and said, "This belongs on a wall." It should have been the first thing that happened. I didn't say anything. I just stood there in my office looking at my name on the wall, and I let myself actually feel what I had worked for, not through the filter of disappointment or the noise of everything that had gone wrong. Just the thing itself. 3 years of work. A credential I had earned. A version of myself I had fought to become. My family had missed the ceremony. That still hurt, and I think some part of it always will. But the ceremony was one morning. What I built over those 3 years belongs to me in a way that no absence can take back. What changed after that wasn't dramatic. It was quieter than that. Marcus started asking, genuinely asking, how my days went. He started handling pickups and drop-offs without being asked, started taking on pieces of the household without treating them as a favor to me. It wasn't perfect and we still had hard conversations, and there were nights I still went to bed wondering if the distance between us was too wide to fully cross. But the trying was real. I could feel the difference. My mother came to visit in April and took me to lunch, just the two of us. She brought up my graduation without me prompting it. She said she had thought about it a lot over the weeks since, that she had talked to my father about it, that she recognized a pattern she wasn't proud of. She ordered us both dessert and told me about a time when she was young and had wanted something for herself and hadn't fought hard enough for it. I think that was her way of explaining something, and also of saying she was glad I was different. Tyler asked me recently what a nurse practitioner was. I explained it in terms I thought he could understand. That I was like a regular nurse but also a little like a doctor. That I could see patients on my own and help figure out what was wrong with them and how to fix it. He thought about this for a moment and then said, "So you worked really hard to be able to help more people?" "Yeah," I said. "That's exactly it." He nodded like this made complete sense to him. Like of course that was worth the work. Like it was obvious. I thought about the night I sat alone in that hospital parking lot 3 years ago. Diploma results on my phone, too afraid to wake my husband because I already knew what he would say. I thought about all the mornings after that, the cold coffee, the parking lots, the kitchen table at midnight. I thought about my name being called across that stage with 4 empty seats in the audience. And I thought about my son's voice reading my credential out loud. Rachel Ann Mercer, Nurse Practitioner. Careful and slow. Like words that matter. That empty row at my graduation will always be part of the story. But it is not the whole story. It never was. The people who show up for you aren't always the ones you expected. And sometimes, the ones who failed you find their way back. Not perfectly, not all at once, but in the small and deliberate ways that mean they're actually trying. I didn't throw away my marriage. I didn't cut off my family. What I did was stop pretending that being fine was the same as being okay. I stopped making it easy for the people I loved to overlook me. I started taking up space in my own life. Turns out, that's the hardest and most necessary thing I ever learned to do. And it took standing alone on a stage, holding a diploma no one came to see, to finally understand it.